Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Communion podcast, where we traverse through the inner dwellings of the human experience through conversation. I'm your host, Danae. Join me as we explore the interconnection of creativity and community. Today, I have on the lovely and kind Caley Alyssa. Everything Caley does comes from her heart and what inspires her. She's the CEO and founder of the Caley Alyssa app and Academy of Sleep, guiding women to become embodied stewards of their relationships, wealth, and magnetism through mindset and strategy practices. Caley has been an industry leader in the wellness space for over 15 years and creating content for fitness giants like Alo Yoga, Beachbody, and Mindbodygreen. She does one-on-one coaching, leads teacher trainings for Yoga Nidra, guides international retreats, teaches at major festivals like Lightning in a Bottle and Wanderlust, and launched Aura Uplifting Ceremonial Mist, a collaborative project with Kaliks Collective. I met Caley from a fellow Conscious Communion guest, Sierra LaRue, and was instantly captivated by her warm, inviting, and authentic spirit. Without further ado, welcome, Caley. Hello.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Yeah. It's such an honor to have you here. It's so funny because I've taken your yoga classes even prior to having met you in the flesh, and I love the essence that you bring. You are truly such a warm presence, and you can feel that so much more in space with you, but you bring it to your classes virtually as well.
Thank you. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I love to get started by asking, where the work began. I find that so many people who are aiding others in their own evolve have gone through some shit. And I think that that's the juice to where this work comes from. And so I would love to hear just a little bit about what the pivotal moments in your own life have been to get you to this work and where you are today.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think it all, I don't know when the exact start date was, but I guess I will go back to the beginning of like my coming of age where I met my ex-husband. And I think my work started there. I think my work started with my high school sweetheart. I was 14 when I started dating him. And he was the love of my life. We got married when I was 24. We were together up until I was 28, around there. And we still talk to this day. He is still in my life, not as present as he was before, but through being with him, his father committed suicide when we'd been together for, I think, 6 years at the time. And that experience was a pivotal shift for us in our relationship and for me in my life. And it really helped me to see there's a lot more out there than I was aware of. And I knew when my ex-husband and I got married, I knew that I had this like wild energy in me. And I even remember in my wedding vows saying something to the effect of like, I got the better end of this deal here. Because I knew something in me might hurt him and might ruin our relationship or whatever it was. Even though I knew also he was a soulmate and the love of my life. And so that's kind of like where I had this inkling that there was going to be some big rock, some crazy wild ride in my life. And then flash forward, we moved to San Francisco and I found yoga, or yoga found me. I'd kind of dabbled with it before. I'd taken a few classes here and there. And I just jumped into this teacher training kind of out of the blue. I was working full time in finance. I jumped into this teacher training and it just became solace for me. It was like I was automatically plugged into community that I didn't have. I automatically felt like a deep connection to spirit, to soul, to this part of me that I hadn't really touched in a long time. And there was something about it that I just knew. I'm like, this is going to be something for me. And it was, I opened a studio called Home Yoga in the Presidio in San Francisco. And then that closed. We moved to LA. My ex-husband and I moved to LA, and I really went begrudgingly with him to LA. I just didn't want to be there. I didn't really think that I loved LA, and I liked it. And so I got down there, and I was sort of rebelling against being there. And I plugged right into the yoga community in LA. I started taking all the like hardest classes I could find. The yoga there was so different. It was like handstands and crazy stuff. And so I got my practice up to snuff. And throughout this time, my partner and I are just drifting and drifting and drifting. And we ended up getting a divorce, and I cheated on him left, right, and center. And I was just going through this crazy wild phase where I had never been single. I'd never had a life where I was just me, since I was 13 years old. And so it was just this wild ride I went through, and the work just, that's when it like really started. But it was just this like build, this build, this build, this build, this build. And then that's when it kind of shit hit the fan, and I really started falling apart, and then, the coming back together.
Totally. The coming back together is always the interesting part, right? It's such a process, and we need to have so much grace for ourselves in the process. And I know that you really do touch on relationships in your work and the work that you do. And so much of that is the relationship that we have to ourselves. And I would love for you to just touch a little bit on that. And you just had a post today, and it talked a little bit about that. And you've had a couple posts as of recently that have really touched on that. And I love that. But if you could further extend just a little more conversation around the relationship to self and the importance of that specifically.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, as you now hear, relationships are my life. So I've been in relationships since I was, 13 or 14. And I believe that we do our biggest growth when in relationship. I think that that's our biggest mirror. And also we learn the most about ourselves and the relationship we have to ourselves through other. And I think for me, my relationship with myself it was tumultuous when I was younger. I didn't really have it, meaning like I ignored the self. I talk a lot about intuition in my teaching, and there was a period of time, when I was going through a divorce and lived in LA, single for the first time in my life. And my relationship to myself was like, be quiet. I'm going to do this, like whether it was good or bad, whether my intuition was like, yes or no, I was just like, I'm just doing this. And so for a long time, my relationship to myself was just like, do whatever you want, do whatever you want, And that was harmful because there were parts of me that were like, this isn't good for you. Do not do this. You shouldn't be with this guy. Do not do this. And I was just like, I was doing it, no matter what myself said, my intuition, no matter what anybody else in my life said. And so for a while, I was really harmful towards myself. The guest star over here. I was really harmful towards myself. And when I realized why I was doing that, why I was being harmful towards myself, it was sort of this epiphany. I realized that like I was almost punishing myself for the pain that I had caused my ex-husband, for what I had done to him. This was like my retribution to myself to like get back at me. And once I realized, holy shit, I'm doing that, then I kind of pulled out of it and I stopped doing that. And now I've got a really beautiful relationship with myself, and it's getting really rich right now, especially after becoming a mom. And these last 3 years for me, it's been, and through COVID, and my partner and I moved up here to Portland, Oregon. And so I left Los Angeles and everything that I'd built and my whole industry and everything. And I came here, and so my relationship with myself these last few years has really taken a turn. It's gotten much deeper, much more, I would say, intricate. And I'm still learning a lot about me, but I'm learning that what I thought was important before is shifting. It has shifted quite a lot. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
That's beautiful. And I would imagine being a mother has most likely changed quite a bit about just with that process. And I'd be curious to hear a little bit about that and how being a mother has changed or impacted your work. Whether it be with yourself, right? Like the internal work and the personal process of just your spiritual work with yourself.
Yeah.
But that always changes the work that you do with others. So you can just, however feels right for you to respond.
Yeah. Well, before we got on the podcast, I mentioned I had stopped. I was doing mentorship before I had my daughter. And I was running these group mentorship programs called Make Wealthy Moves. And it was all about launching like a service-driven wellness business digitally and making that successful. And a lot about like, social media, understanding the ins and outs of that and just marketing yourself as a brand. And when I got pregnant with Sunny, I stopped doing that. And the whole time I was doing that, it didn't really feel resonant to me, but it was what the women were coming to me for. It was what they needed and wanted. So that's what I did. And it just kind of like evolved in that way, rather than me being like, this is what lights me up. This is my zone of joy and genius. And this is what I'm offering. It was like, this is what people were coming to me for. So sure, I'll do it. And so that shifted when I got pregnant. I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. It doesn't fill me up. It's not joyous to me to teach this. I'm not interested in this. I'm interested in self. I'm interested in relationship with other. I'm interested in source. I'm interested in the daily rituals and practices and habits that help us to connect deeper and to build more intimacy and to have greater success in relationship and to expand under pressure. I'm not interested in what you should be posting on social media and your content strategy. And it just, like when I had my daughter, it just got so very clear. I didn't want to do that anymore. And so I stopped coaching altogether. And I dove deep into my own personal development. I became a part of a leadership mastermind. I really took time to just hone in on my skills, what lit me up, and my practices, like my meditation practice, waking up before my daughter, before my partner every day and meditating and doing what I knew would give me inspiration and feed my soul. And so she's changed a lot of things for me. She clarifies everything down to like who we allow in our home and our space, the people that I'm friends with now and the people that I was friends with before Sunny. It's very easy for me to say, you're not allowed in my energy sphere. I don't want that around my daughter like that, and I couldn't do that for myself for a long time, but I can easily do it for her and my whole family now. It's like, it's the easiest thing. And so I think that's probably the coolest thing I've noticed about becoming a mom is that I am steadfast and very clear with what I allow energetically into my sphere and what I want to do as well with my own life. It's been an incredible journey with her, and every day still to this day, she's going to be 2 in a few weeks, and spectacular. So
it's almost like holding this like energetic alignment that's cleared the way for you to just know what is for you and what isn't for you. Not that, and it's so interesting how something you mentioned earlier, and I really loved that you said this, but so much about relationships, the mirror of having another individual, whether it be your partner or your child, being able to teach you that is just such an impeccable and profound opportunity, right? It's like that itself is a portal.
It's a portal. And it's also like, I've got my belly cast back here that I'm still like working on painting. You can see in the background.
I love it. Yeah.
It's also just like the people say it, but it is an ego death. I mean, it is a full and complete ego death. And I'm still going through waves of it now. I still, I was just at dinner last night with a girlfriend who's known me since pretty much day one. I landed in Los Angeles. We met each other right around that time. I was in Sundance with her and we were seated at a dinner together. at the time I was like dating a Hollywood actor and divorcing my husband. And I was in that, like just hitting that crazy phase. And she met me right then. And she's known me this whole time now, you know, and we were talking last night, and it's like my life now compared to my life when I knew her is night and day. I mean, I was traveling the world. I was doing all these crazy things. I was like, you know, on the covers of magazines and like, you know, teaching the hottest Hollywood producers yoga and just like, and now I'm like living in Portland with my daughter and my partner. My partner travels all the time, so I'm home with my daughter alone, you know, doing the mom thing and working on my stuff. And that's my life now. It's like so drastically different than what it used to be. And so really for me becoming a mom too was an ego death. It was a like shedding of this old skin, this old like personality, this old thing that I was acting like or being or whatever it was, you know, this old version of me, and learning this new version of me that's being birthed and still being birthed. I'm still learning, and it's hard still. You know, I just lost one of my major contracts that I'd had for years, for like almost a decade. And it was abrupt and abrasive, and also another ego death, another shedding of another layer of another skin, and another energetic alignment at the same time. It's not aligned, it's not integrous. And yeah, it's just like, all right, if this is what becoming a mom is, then I'm signing up for this. You know, this is a part of what that experience is, at least for me. And it's been hard and beautiful and wild, a wild ride.
I bet. Yeah. I think even moving from LA to Portland, I moved from the suburbs of LA. I wasn't even in the city. And that alone was a huge shift. But to be actually in the industry and working around that type of energy, that environment, and then coming to Portland and having that in itself is a massive ego death and shift and change. And so I mean, I empathize with that challenge, but with having that additional layer as being a mother, I would imagine that it's just been so multifaceted. Really, really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And you know, as you mentioned, the barriers and the things that we go through, that to me just feels like a juicy conversation that we could potentially get into. We talked a little bit about it before we jumped on today, but how have you been able to support yourself through the challenging seasons of the ego deaths, being a mama, and all of the shifts and the changes that you experience, to love yourself and to show up for you? How do you do that on a regular basis to support yourself in those dark times?
Yeah. I'm sort of in a dark night of the soul at the moment, reassessing and reevaluating some things in my life. And before, I would say what I would do was really, really the embodiment practices, you know, very much so my yoga practice on the mat every day, out in nature, meditating, breath work, you know, sitting vipassana, you know, whatever I could do, trainings, I would do, you know, the Yoga Nidra training or whatever kind of training that I could learn and go deeper into the esoteric realm, connecting to something larger than myself. And now that's all still there. Those practices and the embodiment piece is all still there. But now in this last season of my life and current season of my life, it's been a practice of just being uncomfortable and just sitting in discomfort. And allowing myself to really sit in it, you know, like feeling it fully. Not rushing through, not trying to fix, not being a victim at all. Just really letting myself mourn a loss, a shift, come to grips with what's going on, and give myself spaciousness. I think that's another word, spaciousness, to feel and to experience these things. I think before I would try to like just get through it, rush through, figure out the next piece, the next step, the next whatever. And now I'm like very much more in a place where I'm still doing the embodiment practices, but it's much slower, fewer, further between, and much more just like contemplative space. Yeah. I think that's the main parts, is leaning into the discomfort. Yeah. And giving myself the space to feel it.
I resonate with that so deeply. I think there's a symptom in our society where we want to fix everything. And rather than just sitting in the stickiness or the crunchiness and knowing that that itself is the rite of passage, right? Like sitting with the discomfort and knowing that, I say it so often on this podcast, but we are nature, and it is the deepest truth that I know, that we too get to season and to be patient with ourselves and our seasons, because there's so much to learn in the present moment. And if we try to skip what's here for us in the here and now, we totally rob ourselves from all the juice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel that. It is juicy, and there's so much more depth when you do that. I think that's the thing. It's like going deep and not wide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's where the juice is.
Yeah, for sure. It's like that. We've heard it so many times, but an old tree with bad roots won't grow good fruit. And, it's same goes for us. Like, we have to tend to the deep roots within our own system. And that is such a collective symptom, an issue. And I think that people who are attempting to really put themselves out there like you do, the depths almost reach deeper, if you will, because if you're doing your work to then put forth your energy, you're obviously, your mycelium network, that you're reaching those wide, expansive, connective networks. So it's like, it's all a part of it. And it's just this beautiful connective experience that you get to be a part of, but you have to sit with the dark, sticky parts, which can be really challenging at times. But I love to hear that you're sitting in it, and you're doing the things.
Yeah. I think also, I was afraid before of the dark, sticky parts. And I think a lot of people are afraid of that. A lot of people fear they'll fall into a depressive state and not be able to get out of it, or they just fear the darkness in general because that's what we're taught, But the older I've gotten and the more I've explored the darkness, I find that I actually think it's a superpower to be able to dwell in the darkness. I think that I'm a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio sun. Sorry. And turn that back on. And so, Scorpios, we are in that constant cycle of death, life, and rebirth. And we love the darkness. We like to talk about the occult. We like to dwell in that space. We like to integrate it into our daily lives. And I think that that's a piece of it for me. And I've also just gotten comfortable with the darkness, and instead of looking at it as something that's negative that lives in me, it's a positive, it's a superpower. And when people acknowledge that within me, I think people are a little shocked when they meet me or get to know me because of that. And it's, in the past, I've taken it as not as a compliment, like something when they notice it or when they say something about it, it's like oh shit, they see my darkness. That's not a good thing. But now I'm like, oh, thanks. Yeah, it's there. And it's a superpower of mine. So thanks for noticing, now it's something that I'm really just again, leaning into, embracing. And there's such richness. It's so fruitful. Man, there's so much to learn from that space.
Totally. Yeah. And accepting it's it's coming to terms with accepting the whole self. And that in itself is really liberating, right? I think, that's another symptom of our society. Like, we think we have to be this thing, or we cultivate these ideas when we're children from whatever programs we've learned. And it's up to us to break free from those paradigms.
Yeah.
So much of the work that you do is helping women liberate themselves and come into terms with their own relationships to self. So what do your one-on-one mentorships look like? Like, how do you build those relationships, and how do you help women empower themselves to do that for themselves?
Yeah. They've changed this year. When I brought my coaching back this year, so very recently that I started doing it again. I took 3 years off, and when I brought it back, in my mind, it was like, I'll offer a 30-day sort of lightning session just to help people, like, whatever it is they need to get going, and then a 6 month and a year. I'm not doing 30 days anymore. It's not enough. It's just not. Even 6 months to me feels like not enough. And I'm realizing that I am invested in a relationship, and a mentorship for me is not coaching. It's different. A mentorship is like, it's something that I'm signed up for life. And, really it's something that, like, you want someone there, not just when you're trying to figure something out or in a time of struggle. You want someone there in your corner in the good times and when things are easy as well, because then you're, that's the moment in time where, like, something's going to come. Something will come. And so how are you setting yourself up for that? And what's your support system like? And so I'm learning that I love working in containers that are longer term. So I can really see the development and the changes, and be there through the thick and the thin of things. What my containers look like. I am realizing much more that I do not enjoy the business end of things. I enjoy the soul end of things. I enjoy helping my clients develop or deepen a relationship to self. And in doing so, that impacts their other relationships in their life, whether it's with a romantic partner or whether it's in their work environment. And through that development, I work with embodiment practices, obviously. We work with hot and cold meditation techniques, depending on where the client is, movement, yoga. And it's a lot of helping them to see their blind spots. In our field of vision, we have this blind spot that our eyes actually can't see, but because we have two eyes, it sort of autocorrects over that. So we're not aware that there's a blind spot. The same thing happens in our life. We have things that are habits, ways of being, things that we've acquired from, very early ages, or maybe even past lives, that we just, they're on autopilot. We don't know that they're impacting us negatively, but they are. And so that's really what I love doing now, is helping my clients to uncover their blind spots, to shift their programming around those blind spots. There's a giant boulder in the way. How do you, like, chip away at it and get rid of that thing? And that takes time. And so that's kind of what working with me looks like. We look at your blind spots. We develop a deep relationship to the self, a deep relationship to other, and embodiment practices to help support that.
That's beautiful. And I think we could all do the work to find the boulder, right? It's like but sometimes that's the most challenging thing to do. I feel like I too am, I don't know if it's really hard to tell if I'm coming out of it or if I'm still in it, but this just full on death cycle, it's it feels like it's been this, I don't know if it's just felt continuous. The past 6 months have just felt really sticky. Lots of learning, but then a lot of integration through the 6 months and through the dark season. So it's really interesting. Like, you feel the light in the dark, and it almost, maybe in our growth, we get to feel the balance of all of that, all of that's what's here for us.
Yeah.
But what tools do you use for folks to kind of help them kind of see themselves? Because I'm sure that is challenging at times to just be in relationship, right? Relationships and having mirrors can be challenging. But how do you do that with such grace and kind of help others to do the same for themselves?
Yeah, it's a process. It's an excavation process. So I have a lot of systems and structures in place that help me to excavate that information right at the get-go. I have a really in-depth discovery questionnaire that I have my potential clients fill out before I even get on a call with them. And then once I do have a discovery session with them, I take them through what's called cycles of activation in our discovery call. They don't know that I'm doing this, but I do it. And I've learned this through one of my coaches, through one of my lifelong mentorships, who I study with. And really, it's neuroscience. It's taking them through a cycle that is activating. And that could be like, okay, on your discovery questionnaire, I asked you, what's your goal? What do you want to accomplish in this lifetime? And you said X, Y, and Z. Why don't you have that yet? Why haven't you done it yet? And that's activating because they're like, oh, well, I have all these reasons why, all these reasons why not, all these things standing in my way. And then, so that's, you're taking them on a low. And then, okay, what would it feel like if you had all of these things? What would it feel like if all of those, obstacles were out of your way and you accomplished this thing? What would that feel and look like, So as I'm going through these cycles with them, what I'm looking for is their resiliency, their bounce back. Are they blaming? Are they a victim? Do they take accountability and responsibility for where they're at? Or is it everyone else's fault, the world's fault around them? There's a lot that I can excavate within that first discovery session. And I also push back around even being my client. What would it feel like if you said no to working with me? What would it feel like? Let's lean into that. Let's, sit with that experience of saying no. And if they're like, well, I would try to find someone else to work with. I would, whatever the answer is, I can tell that it's not me that they want to work with, and that it might not be the best fit. But if they're like, I really want to work with you. It would really be upsetting to me if we weren't working together. I'm really looking forward to, having you as a mentor and to guiding me through this process, whatever it be. Then I know, okay, they are invested in this and they want to do the work. They're ready to do it now and they want to do it with me. So yeah, first and foremost, I would say it's through my structures and systems in place that help me to excavate those blind spots. I can see what their material is very clearly. If I then decide that they are a ideal client and that I want to work with them, then I have another questionnaire that I have them answer that's much more in depth. And that is another excavation process for me. And then our first session together is it's like a 3 to 4 hour kind of deep dive from, the 2 questionnaires and the discovery session I've had with them. There's a lot of blind spots of material that comes up just in that space. And then as we go, more is illuminated. Every session we have more illuminated and we keep track of those. I build a portal out for my clients on this platform called Notion, and we track all of our blind spots and all of the things that are illuminated and how they became illuminated. And, what was the thing that like brought that blind spot into our awareness. So yeah, it's a process. It's a process and an excavation process. And that's kind of some insight as to how I pull those things out.
That's really beautiful. You're really going after the relationship, which is such a testament to your work, which I love. And I think we need more of that. I think that we need more community. We need more in our society. It's something that we lack deeply. I'm sure moving from LA and moving to Portland was challenging, having had built a community. And then I know that you and I briefly talked about it when we actually spoke in person and how that's just been, a piece to the puzzle moving to Portland. So how do you fill up your cup with your relationships and carve out the quality time? I know you have your partner, so I'm sure you have to do special things with your partner to ensure that relationship spot within your own life is fulfilled and your cup is filled, right? Because you're giving so much to others. How do you fulfill your own cup in the relationship sphere?
I used to think about balance, like I have to get a certain amount for me, a certain amount for my partner, a certain amount for it's balance. I don't even think balance exists, especially as entrepreneurs. Like we don't have balance. And I don't know if striving for balance is like the thing, because there are seasons. Like some nights I'm up working until 1 a.m. on a project because I want to be, and because it's mine, and because I enjoy doing it, and because it needs to get done. And then, there are other days where I don't have anything going on. And so that's when I'm like, great, I get to do whatever. But if I let go of the need to find balance within my partnership, within my, my own relationship, within my relationship with my daughter, or our family dynamic, then things flow a lot better. It's imbalanced, and I just accept that. And so my partner, I mentioned before, travels a lot for work. He's gone 2 weeks at a time, a lot of times, and it's imbalanced. I'm here. I'm doing the mom thing, when he's gone, and working and doing all the other things. And so I don't get to have me time. I don't get to see friends. And frankly, I don't really have a big community yet here in Portland. So I don't really have a girlfriend I can call yet and be like, let's go to dinner. I'm still working on that. So it's unbalanced right now. I'm not in balance, and I'm okay with that. And I think just coming to terms with the imbalance of it all. And, when I have time to fill my cup up, I do. And when I don't, I don't. But I never deplete myself fully. If I am fully depleted, I know what to do. I know I got to get my butt up at 5 o'clock before my daughter wakes up. I know I've got to get my meditation practice in before, the house gets moving. That's the one thing, if I'm super depleted, that's a non-negotiable, is just get my butt up, sit on my biomat, drink my lemon water, and do my meditation, write in my gratitude journal. If I have that, then I fill my cup up.
Yeah, it's back to the relationship to source, right? It's interesting without having people to remind us maybe of who we are. Like that's the non-negotiable. We have source, and that's the great part about having a relationship to our spiritual nature, is that we get to be reminded without necessarily having it done externally. And
yeah, I like that.
It's exhausting to put expectations on people. It's exhausting for other people, and it's exhausting for us.
I love that. Yeah, I for a long time I was putting expectations on my partner. I'm like, I need to get out of the fucking house. I'm home every day, all day with this little girl, and then you come home and you just want to be home because you've been gone. But I want to get out. I want to go. And I was like putting that pressure on him to make that happen. And when I stopped doing that, and I was like, I can go. I can go. Like once he gets home, just plan it. Just go. He's not going to do it for you. He doesn't have to do it for you. Do it for yourself. And so, yeah, it's exactly that. It's like not putting the expectation on anyone else. And if I need something done, then I'm going to be the one doing it. If I need to fill my cup, the responsibility and the onus is on me to fill my cup. I cannot put that on anyone else. And if I do, I'm very unhappy and very disappointed.
Yes, I've recently worked through that one, and I'm still, it's like a very old program that feels like it's coming from a survival mode place, and it gets attached to that victim mentality, and it's like, I thought I worked through this shit, and it comes back in the most sneaky, like suspicious way, and you're like, okay, this is just a new way of knowing that this expectation still lives here. So how do I work through this?
Yeah.
But
expectation's a bitch, man. It doesn't ever bode well.
No, not at all. It's so, like I mentioned, it's just fucking exhausting. It's so tiring to put the external premise of you need to do this or you need to do that on ourselves or on another. And it's like, well, if we just, it's like what you mentioned about balance, right? It's if we actually get to just accept the situation at hand, we'll be able to handle it, I think, with a little bit more grace than like wanting it to be something other than it is.
Yeah, I just posted about that last week, but it's same for our partners. Like we can't expect our partners to be someone they're not. And if we're in love with who we want them to be and not who they are, that is not fair to them, And so it's so true. It's, I'm sure a lot of people can resonate, like, whether it's a partnership or yourself, that expectation is just, it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. You come out with such beautiful, I know that you said that it's not your favorite part of the business world, but the content that you present and put forth is really beautiful. And it seems like it's coming from a really creative place. And I would love to hear what your creative process looks like and just a little bit about how you find inspiration.
That's interesting. This is sort of a process I'm exploring right now. I had gone through a 3-month self-imposed experiment where every day I wrote down what the challenging part about my day was, what was like the negative or not so enjoyable piece of my day. And at the end of the 3 months, I looked at every single day, what I had said, and tried to figure out, what was going on that was out of alignment. Every day it was something about social media. I didn't get my post up in time. The engagement tanked. My management agency is not bringing me any posts. I'm not getting any, whatever the thing was, it was always about social media. And so at that point I was like, I don't want to fucking touch social media or look at it ever again. And that's a double-edged sword because this is, social media it keeps me connected to my global community. And also it's, it's how I get students. It's how people see my app. It's how people register for the, Academy of Yogic Sleep. And so I decided I was going to hire a social media agency, and local here to Portland, they're called Do Good Biz. And working with them has been such an enjoyable process. And I also feel my feed is very curated. I feel it's not real. I feel in handing over my social media to allow them to do the design. I still do the copy, but they do the design. It's too curated. And my engagement has been taking, and I don't have the following I used to have. I used to be, I think, like 106, and I don't know where I am now, like 92 or 3 or something. And my management agency had a call with them last week that's like, yeah, we can't get you any gigs because your engagement's not great. And so I'm just at this place now where I'm like, I don't want my life and my time to be spent on this. Again, I just don't. And I don't want to be putting myself out there as perfect and curated. And so I'm actually letting my social media agency go this month. So it's interesting that you bring that up. It's nice to know that, it looks beautiful and that people are resonating with what I'm putting out there. But it's such an interesting place to be at the moment. I'm not quite sure how I feel about social media, but my inspiration is just from my life. It's from my relationship with my partner. It's what we're experiencing on a daily basis. It's what I'm learning from being in partnership and being in union with him. It's what I'm learning from being in partnership with my daughter, and it's literally just my life. And if we're going through something, I'm like, okay, just the other day, someone came to our house who was negative energy. And I sat down and I wrote how to protect yourself from people that have negative energy, whether it's socially in a digital space with your avatar, or whether it's in person in your home with your family, or what I talk about with my clients and what we're working on and what comes up there. So it's all just my life and what I'm learning. If I'm in my mastermind, I joined this mastermind called Beacon. It's all about giving and receiving feedback from women. And so I'm sure that you're going to be feeling a lot of that energy coming forth real soon, and so I don't know. Right now I'm in a place where, in terms of social media, I don't give a fuck. And I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. I'm trying to figure that out right now. So we'll see.
Totally. It's helpful to hear. It's helpful because I am there after getting back from Japan. Yesterday was the first day that I felt motivated to post something that felt authentic to me. I was like, I feel motivated. A poem was flowing through me, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this. But prior to that, I hadn't felt any motivation. And even with the podcast, I would love to market it more and post more, but I don't want to be on my phone.
Girl. So the call I had yesterday with my agency, they're like, all right, so you need to start a new Pinterest page. You need to be running ads on Pinterest. You need to because your current Pinterest page, you're not active all the time. And so Pinterest suppresses, blah, blah, blah. You need to be posting on your YouTube account. You need to be running ads on YouTube and then AdSense and then Facebook and Instagram ads and then posting on Facebook and Instagram ads. But I'm like, I was like shrinking on the call. I'm like, okay. And then start a blog so that your Pinterest can feed to the blog and that gives you more. And I'm just like, this is not what I want to do with my life. I'm not where I am because I don't care about that. I want to create amazing content for my app. I want to create practices and rituals and classes and meditations and nidras that help people to feel better in their bodies and in their lives. I want to work with my one-on-one clients. I want to train people how to use Yoga Nidra as a tool to like help their clients. That's what I want to do. I don't want to be writing on a blog, connecting it to my Pinterest, putting that on my YouTube and then running ads on. I'm like, it's too much. It's too much. So we're at this crazy, insane place right now where like people who are using social media, it's like, it's a beast. It's a black hole of a beast. I'm having this visceral reaction right now that's like a rejection to it.
I think that it's beautiful and I'm glad that you're sharing because it's, again, like you said, a black hole. No.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Thank you for your vulnerability.
Yeah. I think about my daughter. I'm like, there's no way in hell. I will give her a cell phone. There's no way in hell she will be on social media. Not happening. I don't care if she thinks I'm the worst mom in the world. That's not happening. It's just not.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it's interesting. It's like one of the things that my husband and I talk about in conversation. Like we've been back and forth with if we want to have a baby and bring a baby forth. And I think we do ultimately, but there's that fear that kind of trickles in with the world and the way that it is. Exactly what we're talking about right now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we're in the age of Aquarius. We're in the age of technology. We've got AI, we've got augmented reality. And it's just starting. It's just starting. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what my daughter will see or experience in her lifetime, but the world with which she's going to be living in is going to be drastically different than the world that you and I have experienced in our lifetimes. And I think the thing that's going to save us, and I don't know how. And when I say save us, we might all very well go extinct. But the thing that will keep our humanity intact is our hearts, is love. That is it. Like in all the shit that's happening, the thing that sets us apart from technology, from AI, from all of this other stuff, is we're humans. We have hearts and we love. And so, like, I didn't want to have a baby. We didn't plan on having a baby, but she's here and I fucking love her and I'm so glad we did. And also I'm as a parent, I'm like, what did I bring this being into? Yeah, it's and I'm not all doom and gloom, but it's just such an interesting time to be alive, to be a human. And there's so many humans who are here for it, like the population has exploded because all these souls are like, I'm coming in for this shit. This is nuts. Like it's a time to be on earth, and so here we are living through it. We'll see what happens.
Just riding it out.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I'm so glad that you shared. It's so interesting to hear, right? Perception is such an interesting thing because I'm sure if you were the one posting, I would even feel more drawn to your work because in literal physical space with you, I was like, oh, I feel super safe with this woman, this person. Like I felt really safe with you immediately.
Yeah,
so
I felt the same about you.
Yeah, it's just interesting how that comes across digitally. I still liked your contact, but it was like I didn't get the physical juice that I felt like just feeling with like in presence with you. There, I felt it, but like I see you, but I don't see all of you. And I remember maybe, I don't know, a year. I've been following you for a while. Maybe a year, 2 years ago, were you posting yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You were. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. My team I brought on within this last year, I've been maybe like 8 months working with them, the social media team. Yeah.
I think it's just an interesting conversation, right? Like, because of the age that we're in, and I appreciate you for who you are. So I'm glad that you're dumping them.
They're amazing, incredible. Like they really do so much and have done so much. And yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm feeling disconnected from it.
Totally.
So yeah.
The alignment piece, right? It's getting the boulder out of the way. And I think because of who you are, it's not that they're great at their job. They're great at their job. Amazing. But who you are, it doesn't seem that resonates because you are such an authentic individual.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I just want to say that because I sense that in you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And I'm curious, because you have your app and you are putting such conscious material forth in the digital world, what that process has been like for you to birth that into the world.
The app is like everything I love about my life right now. That was launched right around the time my daughter was born, maybe like a month or two after Sunny was born. And so while I was pregnant, I was filming the whole prenatal series here in my like garage studio space. And, this is where like it was birthed right here. And at the time I was like, oh, this is so bad. It's like, I'm pregnant and it's not how I wanted the app to be, but like, it was the time to do it. And I just did it. And so to all of you guys listening, if you have something you want to put out into the world, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just fucking do it. Just get it out there and you'll refine later. Just make it happen. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I launched it. I launched my baby and then I launched my other baby. And, I got really lucky because some friends of mine are in VC and they were investing in this developer, this app developer. And so they connected me with them as like sort of one of their trial cases to see if I would be successful and to see if I could, in essence, make them money. And just so happens that I am, and I was. And it's because I love it. It's because I love teaching. I love creating content that makes people feel good in their bodies, that helps people feel good in their minds. And that's my job. That's what I get to do now. And so the app is something, I think we just had our 2-year anniversary, which is incredible. And I'm still learning as I go. And the same with the app. Like I'm not a marketing expert. I don't know anything about the world of getting an app out into people's hands and visibility wise. And so for 2 years, I've just been promoting it on social media and to my email list and, however I can, but I haven't been running ads. I haven't been doing anything like that. And I didn't really realize that I needed to, but now I'm seeing that, people are like, you don't run ads for your app. What are you doing? I'm like, okay, another thing to add to the list. Now I have to be a marketing expert as well as a content creator, as well as all this other stuff. But the app is, I joyfully do that because we're getting reviews all the time and feedback all the time from our community that is like, this is why I do this. This is why I do this. And so it's just so affirming to hear people's experiences, to know that I'm making an impact on their health and their well-being. It feels so good. And the app is something that I hope it lives forever.
I hope it fills your cup and it lives forever, and just continues to be it. You can see it in your face that it's a reciprocal act, right? You're pouring the love in and the love is coming back to you. And that's ultimately what a better thing for our work to do that for us, right?
Yeah. I feel pretty lucky. I feel pretty lucky that I get to do that.
But you've also put in the work to be where you are today, and you've taken the risks and the chances. And I think as a creative, like you said, just doing it, getting out of the way and just doing it. Yeah. That is one of the most challenging parts for folks. I can, myself included, there's so many ideas I have that I just haven't put forth because, I make an excuse, right, for one thing or another.
This comes up a lot when I work with my clients. It's that perfectionism. It's that needing it to be perfect. And the reason we do that, the reason that perfectionism is so rampant right now, especially in our society, is because we basically, that makes us, when we become perfectionists, there's always work to do. There's always some little detail that needs to be fixed or tweaked or changed or something, which means we never actually have to put ourselves out there and do the thing. So we're delaying and distracting from ultimate discomfort. And so this is why we were talking at the beginning. My passion now is helping people to lean into their discomfort and to move through it. And so it's like, it goes back to our survival mechanisms of like, being an outcast and pushed out of the group and not safe, not able to live. We die. We lose our lives. And so when we put ourselves out there and we take a risk, like launching an app or whatever the thing is, it's scary. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And so we stop that discomfort by busying ourselves, by becoming perfectionists. And then we never have to be uncomfortable because there's always another detail that I need to do before I put the thing out or launch the whatever, or, so this is another thing that I work on with my clients is it's not really perfectionism. You're stalling.
That's beautiful. And that's a good word for me and everyone else, because I think everyone has something to offer. I really, truly believe that. It's just about excavating, like you said, getting the boulders out of the way and finding what aligns with us to then put that work forth, right? So that's the sticky part.
Yeah.
So good. If you had one little slice of wisdom from your own experience that you could share with people, what would it be?
One little slice of wisdom. Oh, man. I don't know. I think more and more it's just accepting and being yourself. That's it. Just like the more that we can lean into our true selves and be like really authentic, the more successful we'll be, but really ultimately the more happy we'll be, the more fulfilled we'll be. That's it. Just like, if you don't love yourself, figure out how to fucking start loving yourself and just be who you are.
That's a good word. Definitely. Yeah. And I know I already shared kind of, what you do, but can you let people know how they can find you and how they can work with you? Yes. Obviously you shared a little bit about it, but.
Yeah. So I run the Academy of Yogic Sleep, which is a training where I certify leaders of their industry to use Yoga Nidra as a subconscious reprogramming tool. So we have our first cohort had doctors, nurses, therapists, yogis, all across the board. People are realizing that this is a tool that really can help people, that can change people's minds. And so that certification program we run twice a year. We have our next cohort. Our registration opens in August, and we'll be starting in September. So you can find that at theacademyofsleep.org. And it's also linked on my Instagram, and we have our own Instagram page for that. And then also the app. So it's just, my name is just the Caley Alyssa app. It's on Google Play. It's on Apple. We release new content weekly on the app. So it is, there's so much content on there now. It's been running for 2 years. You can imagine we release content weekly and sometimes more. So there's seasonal resets. We just are stepping into the summer reset next week. There's a 5-day summer reset program that will be on the app. And then there's breath work. There's tons of Yoga Nidra. There's meditations. We've got a meditation for, setting in morning intention, for communication, relationships, for abundance, for, there's so much on there. There's so much content on there. So there's a free 7-day trial. You can download the app and test it out and, see how you like it. I think it's like, to get the app, it's like $19 a month or something. So the cost of like one yoga class, you'll get the whole app.
Wow.
Yeah, it's well worth it. And like I said, our community is so engaged too. The app is we have a community space. It's so much fun. So there's Academy of Yogic Sleep. There's the app. My one-on-one coaching is, you can just find that on my website, just KaleyAlyssa.com, or, just message me. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling like there's like a pea under the mattress, there's something that you can't see, fill out the discovery questionnaire and we'll jump on a call and see if we're a good fit.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you and your energy and all that you're bringing forth into the world and just your authentic nature. Again, you're just so warm and kind, and I appreciate that in you, even as a mother, because you're raising, I'm sure, you're raising a daughter that will have beautiful foundations because you're doing the work to instill that in her. So thank you for that.
Thank you. She's a force. She's a force. That's for sure.
Well, isn't it funny how you're a force, so it's like, of course you would bring forth another force in the world, you know?
Yeah, my mom was like, they're the hardest to raise, but they're the ones you have to worry the least about. I'm like, okay, stay on that.
Thanks, Mom. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy and sending you all the love.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, sweet one. Hey there. It's Danae again. Just wanted to say thank you for sharing your time and energy with me. If this podcast resonates, please like, subscribe, follow, and share if you're willing. Reviews help too. So if you're feeling the vibe, please leave a review where you can. Sending all the love. Peace.